Hi everyone, thank you for being here today. I'm Barbie Jean, and today I'm excited because I'll be sharing a little bit of my intimate writing with you. Yay! And then I'll also share a practice that I use to deal with heavy emotions. And it's something I learned years ago, and I find it's just like a secret for dealing with difficult feelings. So let's dive in. Before we dive into my reading, I need to let you know that I kept a list for years until I lost count of all my sexual partners. So when I say number 43 and number 42, that's what I mean by that. And yeah, I think that's all you need to know. We're going back to 2015. Young Barbie Jane. All right, August 14th, 2015. What a frustrating second to last day in Australia. The lip-pierced number 43 told the English lad that we had sex, and it did not go over well. I got back to the hostel last night, and he was ignoring me. It made me question myself and made me feel bad for having sex. I hated feeling regret and that I hurt him for orgasming. To me, it's clear I'm traveling and not in a monogamous relationship mindset. I guess I can't assume everyone can understand my free spirit. The UK cutie number 42 felt special, and when he found out I slept with another man, it made him insecure and emotional. I immediately felt like I did something wrong and felt bad for having sex with two guys in the same hostel, let alone the same day. That's the closest interaction I've ever had with different men, only a few hours apart. To be honest, it never really crossed my mind, the English guy's feelings. I guess I didn't think he would find out, but I also felt like it didn't matter based on my clear intentions with him from the start. It was always about sex with us the past several days, and I thought we knew that we'd probably never see each other again. I didn't think number 43 was going to brag about how good the sex was to the UK guy in the kitchen. It was a terrible way for him to find out for sure. It made me feel insecure about my decision-making, but mostly annoyed. Did my actions mean I didn't enjoy the English lad? No. That's apparently how it made him feel. He finally stopped ignoring me like a child, and we were able to have a conversation about it last night. He felt like I wasn't fully satisfied, which I never considered until he brought it up. And perhaps he was accurate slightly. I love climaxing more than once, but I wasn't seeking someone to fulfill me. It really just happened organically. He didn't see it that way, though, and even felt that the other guy was disrespectful to me by bragging about it to multiple people in the kitchen. I began to question if the other guy was worth it, and if he was even a decent guy. I had no way of really knowing based on our limited interaction. He seemed to be after my pussy from the moment he joined me by the pool. Yet, I'm the one that orgasmed 3 times and left him naked in bed after he came. Thanks for the afternoon delight, I smirked as I scurried out of his room. I liked him coming at me with something he wanted and me giving him that and more. Was that disrespecting myself? It didn't feel that way at the time, but now there's all sorts of discomfort around hooking up with him. Now that sense of freedom and fun left me entirely as the UK cutie looked at me all sad and disgusted. I felt easy and slutty instead of empowered and pleased. He eventually caved on being mad at me and joined me in my bed later, squeezing in behind me. I leaned into his touch as he wrapped his arms around me, wondering if he needed this connection to feel appreciated again. I was mad at him for making me feel bad for my actions, so my sincerity felt cold initially, but I think both of us felt equally bad for letting our emotions get the best of us. In hindsight, I felt a sense of pressure to defend myself, as I feel like women are often forced to do when it comes to sex. I blame society for that. There's this discomfort when it comes to females enjoying sex for pleasure too much. It's upsetting, the double standard between men and women regarding sexual behavior. As I listened to the English lad sharing how I hurt his feelings, I wanted him to know that my intentions were pure and real. I couldn't help but be infuriated by his lack of understanding and diminishing of my sexuality. I wanted him to understand that it had nothing to do with him and everything to do with my own desires at the time. To be honest, he didn't cross my mind until I was on top of the lip-pierced man, feeling a sense of naughty freedom, comparing the closeness of the two encounters in my mind. Him entering my mind in that moment turned me on even more. Perhaps that's what makes me such a rare and unique woman. I have a kinky mind. My annoyance towards him dissipated as the day went on, but ultimately I felt attacked. I know he was only sharing his own emotions and how it affected him in a way he wasn't expecting, but I felt selfish with my thoughts in my head. I mostly acted sweet and calm like I tend to do to avoid conflict, but in reality I felt guilty, slut-shamed, and disconnected. He hurt me just as much as I hurt him. After waking up and realizing I slept through my alarm, I swiftly departed, not kissing him goodbye. Although I appreciated him warming to my touch, making it easier for me to fall asleep against him, I despised his behavior the last 24 hours. His assumptions about my actions just reminded me how I'm so different than most, and it made me feel like something is wrong with me. The truth is, I don't have to connect with someone to want to fuck them. It can be strictly because I find them attractive or bold. Also, I crave intimacy a lot, and I feel like I'm often thinking about sex. But is that wrong? I remember learning in health class that boys think about sex every 15 seconds. Once again, society is fucking separating us so early on, which is so far from the truth. Women are sexual beings. Thirdly, I do care, and I do respect myself. I could argue that I care more about myself because I'm so willing to give myself a sexual release, especially during times that are tough. There were so many moments that I wanted to tell him about my church mentor's passing last week, and that sex has been so rewarding for me this past week specifically, but it never felt right. Similarly, all the times people have questioned my name, being Barbie or Barbara, I've never been one to say my grandma, Barbara Joan, died less than 2 months before I was born, which inspired my name. Even though I've wanted to shout that in their face, I always feel like those strangers don't deserve to know where my name came from. I'm relating this to the English lad because a part of me wanted him to understand that I just experienced the loss of someone I really admired. And sex is a gateway for me to fully relax and submit to my own personal ecstasy. It's healing and it's nurturing. Sex shouldn't be seen with judgment and shame. And I tried so hard for him to see it my way without expressing too much, but it still left me upset and frustrated. I'm unsettled by the whole thing and eager to move on from this tainted experience. Thank you for listening. It feels good to be vulnerable with you, and I'm proud of myself. So I'm just going to take a moment, pat myself on the back, as you should do when you're vulnerable with people you love and strangers, and it's tough. It's tough to do. The first time I shared my intimate writings to people I loved, I was sweating profusely. I was talking so fast. My voice was cracking, and gotten a lot more comfortable with it, but it's not easy. So I guess I just want to let you know that nothing's wrong with you, and you're powerful. So a few takeaways that I want to touch on about this specific story is, one, I have all the sex. I really believe that. I know I've mentioned it before. I think we need to have more sex with ourselves. I also think we need to have more sex with other people and with our intimate lovers. I just think you have to figure out what feels good, and that takes time. You know, I was 25 years old when I had my first vaginal orgasm. And I know it's so common among women to have never experienced that sort of pleasure. But I just really think that it took me so much experience to just figure out how to make it happen. I want to share that it's so important to communicate. You know, obviously we need to receive consent always. You also need to be getting tested frequently if you're having a lot of sex. Even if you're just having a little bit of sex, you should always get tested and just communicate. Let people know when something comes up. Let them know when something feels good. There was a period where I was really just getting aggressive people eating me out for several of my sexual partners, and I was like, what the fuck are you doing? This does not feel good. Penetrating me with their tongue is just not what I enjoy. I've been with women that do enjoy that, but for me, I'm a delicate person when it comes to oral sex. I love, a light circle around my clit. I love the delicate breath and just delicate tongue. I can't say delicate enough, sorry. But it's good to just share what feels good. If you're not feeling comfortable in that moment, maybe just moan, give them body language so they know to keep going, or talk about it afterwards if that feels more comfortable to you. But I want us to just be more comfortable with sex. When we're with our sexual partners, I feel like it's so tough sometimes to share or to express ourselves because of this path that we've been on. I don't know if it's this generationally passed down or because of society, but we often brush feelings under the rug or neglect, what comes to mind. And it's just so important to express ourselves and communicate, especially in intimate relationships. So that's kind of, I guess, a couple of my takeaways from this specific story. But also just harness that goddess or God energy that feels good. I want you to feel good with your feminine power or your masculine power and have fun. Sex is supposed to be fun. It's not always fun, but it should be. And so I want you to harness that power and feel good when you're exploring new things and just express yourself with each other, communicate, and feel good about being sexual and free and all the good feelings. Speaking of feelings, today I want to teach you this concept called emotional mastery that I was introduced to from my therapist years ago. And it's actually from Dr. Joan Rosenberg. She came up with the concept, but basically it's about acceptance and not avoidance. It's about not neglecting these difficult feelings, not brushing them under the rug. Often our mind even just forgets traumatic experiences to protect us. But it's not good to do that. It's just going to lead to more pain and build up. So, before I share this secret, I also want to talk on, I'm thinking about building up and boundaries. This story is about boundaries. I crossed this man's boundaries, and he thankfully brought it up to me and was able to communicate how I made him feel. I wasn't the best with communicating back to him how that made me feel, but over the years, I've learned that, it's inevitable that you're going to cross people's boundaries. That's going to happen no matter what. Everyone has their own limits and expectations, and, people's feelings will get hurt that you love. But if we continue to just let each other know when you're feeling like your boundaries were crossed or they're getting a little too close for comfort, just have those difficult conversations. It's going to lead you to a happier and healthier you. I promise it will. So back to this practice. Place your feet firmly on the floor and think back to a moment where maybe you felt resentment, shame, insecurities, anger, sorrow, whatever that heavy emotion is. I want us to embrace how that feels on our physical body. I often feel this tightness in my stomach, almost like I'm going to be sick sometimes. I feel this weight on my shoulders. Like I just feel so heavy. And so for a minute or two, just breathe. Breathe through those feelings on your body. Again, just do this for a minute or two because it is painful. You might cry, you might literally be sick. I think A lot of times, like I said before, our body just kind of distracts or rejects these heavy emotions because they don't feel good. So that's why this practice is meant to make you more aware of those feelings. And by even just recognizing them for those quick couple minutes, it will make you feel lighter. It will move kind of, you will move through them in a way that is healing and transformative. So I challenge you to do this. Maybe you've had some trauma in your past that you've never embraced or accepted. Maybe you've gone through something like this where something like my story, where you felt slut shamed or you were feeling insecure or guilty by your actions because you hurt someone's feelings. So feel where those come up on your body, and it's almost like a bit of a meditative practice. And I really do recommend baby steps. It can be very painful to feel them literally on your body, but if you breathe through them and focus on those feelings, again, it can be very healing and move you to a more aware being. And that's ultimately what we want, is just to be more aware and present in our feelings in our body, and you'll be happier. So I hope it works for you. I hope you find comfort in knowing that we're all on this journey of life where you're going to be crossing boundaries and hurting people's feelings, but also finding what works for you and what feels good, and harness that goddess energy, please. It feels fucking good when you do it. And have all the sex, please, with yourself. Please go masturbate, figure it out. Figure out what feels good, and enjoy experiencing sexual lovers until you hopefully can learn to orgasm in all the ways possible for your body, because that is, again, going to lead you to have a powerful sexual life, which I really want for you. So thanks again for being here. I'm Barbie Jean. Please like and subscribe if you're interested in experiencing more of my stories and more of my knowledge and experience. So I'll see you next week. Much love.